Imagine stepping back 100 years into America, into the 1920s, a time when cities were growing, technology was limited, and life moved at a very different pace. Among the most important places in society were hospitals, simple, crowded, and filled with both hope and struggle. Unlike today's modern medical centers filled with advanced machines and digital systems, hospitals in the 1920s were basic institutions where survival often depended more on skill, experience, and determination than technology. Inside these hospitals, large wards stretched across wide rooms. Rows of metal-framed beds were placed side by side, each holding patients suffering from different illnesses. The air was often filled with a mix of antiseptic smell and quiet tension. Tall windows allowed sunlight to enter, but heating systems were weak, and during winter, the cold made recovery even harder for patients. Nurses moved constantly between beds, wearing simple white uniforms with starched caps. Their work was exhausting and required great discipline. They checked pulses, cleaned wounds, delivered medicines, and comforted patients who often had no family by their side for long periods. Doctors, meanwhile, relied heavily on observation and experience. There were no advanced scanners, no digital monitors, and no instant test results. Every diagnosis came from careful examination, patient history, and medical intuition. Medical tools during this time were extremely basic compared to today. Wooden tables held glass bottles, metal instruments, thermometers, and early stethoscopes. Surgery was performed in small operating rooms with limited equipment. Anesthesia existed, but was not as advanced or safe as modern standards. Every procedure carried serious risk, and doctors had to be extremely careful with every movement. Despite these limitations, hospitals were places of hope. Families placed their trust in doctors and nurses, believing they would do everything possible to save their loved ones. Visiting hours were short, and communication between patients and families was limited. Many patients spent days or even weeks in hospital beds with minimal comfort, relying fully on the care provided by hospital staff. Nurses worked extremely long shifts, often more than 12 hours a day. Their responsibilities were not limited to medical care alone. They also handled cleanliness, record-keeping, and emotional support for patients. Doctors often consulted with nurses before making decisions because nurses spent more time directly with patients and understood their conditions closely. Infections and diseases were much harder to treat in the 1920s. Antibiotics like penicillin were not yet widely available, which meant even small infections could become life-threatening. Hospitals dealt with epidemics, injuries, and chronic illnesses with limited resources. Yet, despite all these challenges, medical staff continued their work with dedication and courage. Life inside a 1920s hospital was quiet, strict, and highly structured. Patients followed fixed routines for meals, medication, and rest. Comfort was minimal, but discipline and care were strong. Every bed, every corridor, and every room reflected a system that was still developing but deeply committed to saving lives. Over time, small advancements began to appear. X-ray machines were introduced in some major hospitals, though not widely available everywhere. Blood transfusion techniques were still developing. The foundation of modern medicine was slowly being built during this period, step by step, through trial, error, and constant learning. Looking back today, it is clear how far medicine has come. Modern hospitals are filled with advanced machines, precise diagnostics, and life-saving technologies that were unimaginable in the 1920s. Yet, despite all this progress, one thing has remained the same: the dedication of doctors and nurses to care for patients and save lives. Walking through the idea of a 1920s hospital reminds us of a time when medicine was simple, challenging, and deeply human. It was a period where compassion mattered as much as knowledge, and where every small success was a major victory. These hospitals were not just buildings, they were symbols of hope, resilience, and the beginning of modern healthcare as we know it today. So when we look back at hospitals in 1920s America, we don't just see outdated tools and old buildings. We see the foundation of today's medical world, built by countless doctors and nurses who worked with limited resources but unlimited dedication. And it makes us appreciate how far humanity has come in the journey of healing and care.